4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath. Hold. Relax. Welcome to the live Drive Jive archive. I am your host, Frank Monday, broadcasting from the Central Kingdom of the Celestial Dragon, Twilight Zone, Old Peking. It's a rain day, everyone. Where it's yesterday was a real gusher. Man, it was raining like there was no tomorrow. We are headed north on the East Third Ring Road toward the Airport Expressway Junction, and it's gray and rainy. No, no sunny skies today, guys. I'm fresh up out of dreamland. I was dreaming about Troy Sanford last night from Troy's team. He's the leader of Troy's team. We were rebuilding a 68 Camaro rally sport, but it wasn't exactly that. It was kind of like a paradimensional sports car, and it was kind of fun. Like we were cruising around the vehicle, all different angles. I could, sometimes in lucid dreaming and dreamland, you can see a mechanical a thing, any kind of device, any type of three-dimensional object from every direction at once and at the molecular level as well. And so you perceive it directly with your beyond sensory perception. So supersensory is what Steiner called that type of sight, that vision, spiritual vision, supersensory, supersensual or supersensory, supersensual perception. But it was good to see him. Don't know why I don't know why I dreamed about him, but good stuff. And I woke up, kind of snapped out of dreamland real quickly, and then immediately forgot everything I had just been doing while on the other side of the veil. But then I lay there for a while, and I penetrated back in and grabbed a bunch of imagery from dreamland and threw it up on the memory peg system, and that was fun. So one of the techniques for dream recall in the magical path is that you put it on a memory system, put it on a memory peg system. I don't know if you guys have ever built any memory systems before in your mind, but they are different ways to do it. There's the Roman room method. There's the like alphabet method. There's all different kinds of peg systems to do that. The tree of life in its diagram form of 10 circles on a schematic is also a memory tool. So at each location on the tree of life, each sphere, there's a set of correspondence that are to be memorized, attributes of that sphere. Quick channel update, guys. This is the Frank Monday channel, FM radio on your headset, coming at you live on the fives. We're headed now east on the Airport Expressway from the center of Beijing out to the suburb of Xuni. It is 5:15 a.m. on a Thursday morning here, Thursday, the 13th of July. Welcome, Wizard, Warrior, Wanderer, Wayfarer, and Wildcat alike, whoever you are, wherever you are, and whenever you may be receiving this transmission. Make sure to hit the thumbs up if you're out there in Happy Land in the Ideas Room. And if this is your first time, don't let it be your last time. Come back and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment on the video. All that happy horse shit that makes the boob tube algorithm excited. You got to titillate them. You got to get in there and stimulate the surface of the water, as it were, right? Just gently tap the like button. Thank you for that. I I appreciate y'all, good looking sex people out in Happy Land. I was just listening to the latest Y Files. Do you guys listen to the Y Files? It's AJ and Hecklefish over at the Y Files. Really good show, man. Make sure you guys check it out. That guy puts in the that guy puts in the real effort when it comes to um, added value, high production quality for his show. So I was watching the it was I guess it's a show about 2 weeks ago, but I never saw it. I don't know why. I should be updated about stuff like that here on the boobs, but I guess the Susans don't want me to see all their boobs, right? So the boob tube. Okay, if you guys don't know what a boob tube is an old way to refer to a television set back in like the 60s and 70s. A boob is a dummy or an idiot, right? A dummy, a foolish person. And so, because TVs were made with a tube, like a radiation tube or a microwave tube or something, I don't know. I can't remember how that technology exactly worked, but they call it the decathoid ray tube or something like that. And it projects energy against a screen. Then it was clever. I heard it from my father. It was clever to refer to the television as the boob tube because it was a transmission box of imagery and foolishness for dummies. Another way was they called it the idiot box because it was a box filled with idiots. And so when they started YouTube, I thought, wow, that sounds a lot like boob tube. So yeah, boob tube is what I refer to the old site here, the boob. So where had we wandered off to? The Mothman was the latest Y Files, and now, guys, buckle your seatbelts because I've had an encounter with a Mothman-like creature, but it was kind of more like a flying monkey. It didn't really have wings. Anyway, whenever you report on something like this, you're definitely going to sound crazy, right? But I've got my citations in order, and it was a legitimate paranormal experience, whether it be part hallucination or a thinning of the veil or uh, extremely creative imagination that overtook my visual perception or re-encoded it in memory somehow. Any way you look at it, it was a paranormal encounter. So in the summer of 2017, I was staying with my sister Lisa in Seal Beach, California. She had a condominium in Seal Beach, and she was newlywed to a fella who's a pretty famous public figure in LA. So I'm not going to mention his name anyway. Uh, Beloved man, I always call him Jack the Ripper, Captain Jack Sparrow. So I was staying with them, and I like to have a JP Farrell in the evening after a barbecued steak or whatever you like to have for dinner. Can't remember exactly what we had for dinner that night. Might have been steak. I ate a lot of steaks while I was there. Love that American USDA prime rib eye steak, man. That shit is delicious. I don't think there's anything more delicious than like a really well cooked, fresh sourced ribeye with mashed potatoes and steamed broccoli, big dollop of butter on top of it all. Wash it back with an amber mock ale, and then go outside in the beautiful California evening and have yourself a JP Farrell. And it was a full moon that night. I remember clearly. And I had been going out every evening around the same time. I think it was midnight to 2 a.m., something like that, to sneak out and have a smoke. I'd wait for them. I was a closet smoker at the time. I'd wait for them to go to bed, and then I'd try to, slip out the back door and go around to the side of the building, um, and be very, very, very on tiptoes about it, because I didn't want to get caught smoking a cigarette, by anyone. California is so repressive towards anything other than smoking weed. Like, cigarettes are just taboo now. Anyway, nothing more delicious than out there. I uh, so I had been listening to earlier that year, or at the time, I was really into a radio show called Radio Mysterioso, and it used to be available on the Apple iTunes Store or whatever, the podcast. So you have a podcast function on your Apple products, your Apple devices, your iOS devices, and you could directly get all your podcasts updated via their system, which I don't think I think that's totally debunked now. I don't even know if that functions anymore. I guess it never became popular enough to justify having it as a service. But I still had all of my old shows saved on like an iPhone 4, and they mysteriously were all deleted from the Apple Store, and they were even able to delete the connected to the internet. I don't know how they fucking managed that. But Radio Mysterioso was wiped from Apple, and it wiped off even the hard drive files saved on this phone and the other phone. And that's just weird to me. And I couldn't even, recently I tried to do a Google search on it, and it wouldn't even come up on Google. So I don't know what's going on with Radio Mysterioso. It's RADIO, and then Mysterioso is spelled funny. It's MISTERIO, like Mysterio. OSO. Well, this dude's going straight through the light. Doesn't give a fuck. I feel you, brother. No license plate on your industrial vehicle gives you the right to terrorize society's normal laws of operation. Whereas if any of us try that, we're getting a $200 ticket. So I was living in the summer of 2017. I was living with my older sister in Seal Beach, California, staying with her, not living with her. I was just paying a visiting home. And it had and on the radio show, the reason I mentioned the radio show is because on the radio show, they had a fella, a researcher that talked about the paranormal, and he gave a method for experiencing the paranormal. This was long before the days. The radio show was probably 5 years old at the time when I was listening to it. So it was well before the days of Dr. Stephen Greer and Close Encounters 5 method, or the probably more related to like the gateway method of contacting paranormal experience. But I could boil it down to a 30-second transmission of his technique every evening, every night, it has to be evening for some reason. I don't know, maybe it could be early morning, but every evening, choose a time that you can go outside and be undisturbed for 20 to 30 minutes. Choose a location where you can view the sky every evening for 2 weeks. Go out at the same time for that 20 to 30-minute period, contemplating a chosen section of the sky. Make sure that the timing's the same, the section of the sky is the same, and that you're pretty much undisturbed, right? I don't know if you should do this alone. I guess you might be able to do it with others, but the idea is to be quiet and meditate on a certain section of the sky for 2 weeks. In the period of this 2 weeks, if you practice this simple task, at some point in that 2 week period, you will have a paranormal encounter, a transformative paranormal encounter that will verify to you the existence of spirit and things beyond our realm. Don't know what form it'll take. I was thinking it might take the form of UFOs, but I try to clear the mind and just allow for whatever's going to happen to happen. Um, as you do this, there will be a pendulum type swing of giddiness to real fear. Try to keep that balanced toward a neutral position of, you know, I'm neither for nor against. I'm not going to judge or interpret this immediately. I'm just going to let this happen in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, more industrial vehicles just fucking terrorizing people. So, um, I did this in the summer of 2017 in Southern California, in the township of the Seal Beach area, while staying at my sister's condominium. She had a nice pool area too. Wonderful, wonderful little place. Maybe we had tacos that night. I like tacos. You guys like Taco Tuesday? Homemade tacos are so far superior to most. I think the only thing that can beat a homemade taco is a taco truck taco. What do they call those? Tacos pastor. I love those things, man. So I had gone out, uh, try to try to recreate the scene. I had snuck out. They had gone to bed, or maybe they had gone up there to bump uglies, right? To knock boot. Who knows? None of my business. And so their room was upstairs, and the room I was staying in was upstairs as well. But I was down in the first level of the house because that's where the doors to the outside are. And I slipped out the front door at a metal gated door type thing that was really noisy and no way to really minimize the amount of sound emitting from that thing. Anyway, slipped out, tried to make the door close as quietly as possible. Went around to the side of the house, which if I'd have known now what I knew, if I'd have known then what I knew now, I shouldn't have been smoking there. I should have gone somewhere else because my smoke tended to waft up into their bedroom window. What an annoying thing. And they're a very anti-smoker, very anti-smoky, the kind. Uh, Not so much my sister, but more the uncle. Uh, so I had gone out and I don't remember if I had my cigarette lit or not. It seems like I did. Seems like the moon was full and I was um, lit the cigarette, I think. And wow, when you're like on a regimen of 1 or 2 cigarettes a day, then that cigarette after a beautiful meal on a beautiful Southern California evening is really quite delicious. And so, well, Puff, this guy's going fishing and he wants to cross the fucking highway first thing in the morning right in front of my car. And I can't even see him because everything's gray due to the rainy weather. Not a smart move there, amigo. Um, and so I had gone out and I went around to the side or wherever I smoked, it's like an alleyway between the two buildings. And I saw the full moon come up over the building to the south of me. I had been out there a few evenings trying to, perceive the aether. And the full moon had emerged from behind a tree and it was illuminating clouds in the immediate vicinity of it. And I thought, wow, this is so beautiful. And I don't even know if I was thinking about the intention of the paranormal or not. It doesn't seem like I was, but I was so into the moment of the beauty of the scene. Take a little puff, knock the ash off. And something caught my eye, a little flash of moon glow caught my eye at the bottom of a building. And I looked really quick at it and focused on it. I'm like, what was that? Thought it might have been imagination. And a fairy fire type of willow wisp, a ball of smoky, luminous, glowing energy appeared, boom, like vibrant, almost like neon power charged, like it's just slightly smaller than basketball size, maybe volleyball size. I was probably less than 100 feet from it, and there were two buildings, two apartment buildings, double decker, two-story buildings, and it was right on the out of the bushes, and it looked like a carbon copy of the moon, kind of, but more. Are we back? Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo. I lost internet connection, guys. Oh, we're back. Thank you. Hey, free gift from God. Long time no see, man. How the hell are you? Okay, yeah. So it was like a small glowing orb, like a miniature volleyball sized moon of luminous, smoky gray white energy that had scurried up the wall, yeah, like a squirrel might, and like a squirrel might scurry up a tree. And then it had launched out like in a jump across from one building to the other. And I watched it go across with the moon illuminating the clouds behind it. It was just such a surreal, beautiful scene. I was really transfixed. And the crazy thing is like I was almost dumbfounded in the experience. And as it launched from the right building across the left building, it transmorphed, polymorphed, changed shape. And even though it's still in to my immediate retinal vision, it still appeared to be like an orb. I had slipped into an altered state of apotheum. Apotheum is time dilation. So, I mean, how long does it take? I mean, what is the speed with which a squirrel jumps from one tree to another? It's a split second, right? But as I perceived this and received this experience visually, I kind of somehow, as I recall it in memory, there was a paranormal morphine in time, a time dilation, lost time. Uh, DJ calls it apotheum. I experienced apotheum, and I was able to perceive this entity, whatever it was, in perfect lucid dreaming type vision, that super sensual perception from all directions at once, uh, any anywhere in its being, all along it. But I guess I just caught a flash glimpse of it. It was in flight or moving across the field of my vision, and it appeared to have an anthropomorphic shape like a man, or but its skin tone and its entire body was covered in hair, and the hair had the properties of almost like a porcupine, like how a porcupine's each hair has individual structure. So it's the undersides of its arms were bare, but its back and everything, like I think its belly was like man-like too. Almost like a flying fucking gorilla, guys. I mean, what am I going to do here? I'll describe it as best I can. Its face was simian, uh, gorilla like, but at the same time, human and beyond human. When I looked upon its face, I felt a level of terror like I had never felt before, a kind of um, beyond description apathy. Like so it launched across my field of vision as it turned from an orb into this flying monstrosity, probably vision wise, measuring it from that distance, about 100 feet or 30 meters, something like that, 33 meters. Um, I would say it was six plus foot long, if but it was in motion, and its body, it didn't have any wings, but its arms were kind of up like that, and its legs were kind of up like that, like someone might, um, jump and then pull everything in tight. And it floated, and I thought, what the fuck? That's real. And I wanted to like look at it close enough. And so the flash of it going by, and then it went like the trees obscured it, as it just kind of like, it didn't look like it was using normal worldly physics. It was just gliding across. And it like looked over at me, it turned its head and it looked over at me, and I got a full face shot in this dilated time space. And it sent a telepathic message directly into my head. I'm not going to tell you what it said, but it struck me with some of the high, like some of the deepest, most profound, soul shattering fear as like an ordinary human creature as I could ever experience. And it had such a high level of like apathy towards me being there and me seeing it, and it being revealed to me, or it revealing itself to me. And it, as I sought to keep it in my field of vision, like I think I like dashed into the alley or whatever to try to get like a closer look or whatever, even though I was just terrified. It didn't matter. I wanted to perceive it directly and experience that fear and loathing. And then everything shifted, and it, like, that sense of terrifying, how to describe it, that sense of mind numbing terror disappeared immediately. And I shifted into almost a kind of bliss, and a universal cosmic love emanated. But the creature itself, the skin tone was more of like a smoky gray. The the hair coating was more like almost gray white, and the skin and face and stuff itself were like a deep black. So it went from like the like deep black, like a gorilla, to like smoky gray and in flight, like porcupine type fur. Fucking just, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just telling you exactly what I perceived. I don't know what it was, but the first thing that came to mind was Mothman. I'm like, I just fucking saw Mothman. He doesn't have any wings. Those are his arms. It could have been like a Sasquatch. It's kind of almost what like your typical Sasquatch would look like, but not. The face was more flat and simian, and it had a look of terror. Like it was totally disinterested in me for some reason, but it seemed like a murderous spirit. And but after it had dissipated and whatever, I shifted out of that state, and I was like, fuck, I just had a paranormal experience. And I was back in the present moment, and I looked down at my watch, and I think the cigarette was missing from my hand at that point. I must have dropped it. But I remember clearly that when I had stepped out to light that cigarette, it was like a quarter after 12. And when I looked down at my watch, it was like 2 a.m. And I was like, what the fuck? There goes like over an hour of time that, to my memory, transposed in like a split second, not even a couple of seconds, just enough time for like the light to shoot up the side of the building and across and disappear into the moon shadowed treetops behind the fucking second building. And I was like, nah, that ain't fucking right. And I thought, yep, I've had myself a paranormal experience. And so I was a little shooken up by that realization. And I'm like, how the fuck could it be 2 a.m.? And so I went back into the apartment as quietly as possible, because I didn't want to disturb family. And I didn't want to miss recording this event. So I think I recorded it in some form. I might have made a tape recording or an audio file and talked about it, or I might have written it in a journal. I can't remember exactly. I think I put notation in a journal. I might have done both because I do that all the time. I constantly make archives either here on YouTube or in journal form or in some other form. I'm a hobby historian to some extent and paranormal researcher. But over the course of about the next 2 to 3 weeks, I dreamed about that event over and over and over again, had a recurring dream about it. And during those recurring dreams, it was revealed to me the entire scene from all directions and what happened when I interacted with that creature. Now, I'm not going to reveal to you here on live television exactly everything that was revealed to me, but I'm going to tell you that simple technique from Radio Mysterioso, you could struggle for a lifetime of waiting for something to happen and nothing's ever going to fucking happen because I'm an ordinary, everyday individual like yourself, right? An everyday man. There's nothing fucking going on. I mean, I've had some paranormal experiences, but this is the one for the record books. And in addition to that, like, kind of the fact that short amount of time to memory was actually a much longer period of time, which actually, once you go to sleep and start re experiencing what that deeper connection meant in the astral realm, that was a celestial creature, guys. That was a genuine celestial. So I'm going to leave it there. My experience with a flying monkey, uh, for lack of a better word, and that I mean that's a little bit rude and insensitive towards the deep, profound level of the what that spiritual experience meant, and with a genuine visual component and a genuine memory wipe with possibly the download of a much larger database. Yeah, Radio Mysterioso. So you got radio right, but Mysterioso isn't spelled that way. It's spelled M-I-S, not a Y, but an I. I don't know why he spells it this way, like Mister. Misterioso. So it's got a funny spelling. That's what might make it a little harder to search. But the show I had listened to, I was driving around in Long Beach in like the gay district. Long Beach has a really large LGBTQ community district. And I remember when I had heard that show the first time, or maybe it wasn't the first time, maybe I was reviewing it on podcast form, but I was driving around the gay district and there's a bar in pretty close by the gay district, downtown Long Beach, called Ambrosia. And I remembered when I was driving by Ambrosia, I'm like, my dad took me to that bar one time when I was like 5 or 6 years old or something. Like one day, I don't know, I didn't go to school or something, and my mom didn't, she had something to do, she couldn't take care of me or something, and so my dad put me in a, my dad always either drove a Cadillac or a Buick, so he threw me in the Cadillac, and he took me down there and we had a burger at that bar, and I thought, fuck, that's weird, man, because that was a memory I hadn't that memory hadn't touched my mind since the day it happened. So that was like a lost memory that must have been 40 years old, 40 plus years old at that time. And I thought maybe that's why I named my daughter Amber, because it's a beautiful sign on the side of the bar that looks like a a, a sunburst, and it says Ambrosia Tavern or something like that. I can't remember. And I thought, yeah, there it is there. And that golden light. And when you go in, it's got like leather interior. It's like 1950s style bar or something. If you're ever in the Long Beach area, I might take my son in there and have a burger with him, right? Check it out. All right, guys, that's all the time I've got. I've arrived at the hour. Time is pressing. Thank you for tuning in for another paranormal encounter with Frank Monday. There's more than that, man. I don't have I got a half a dozen like really powerful ones, but that was one of the more powerful ones that happened so fast, but then led to so much more later on. Next time, we'll probably talk about a couple of the encounters with the three amigos, what I call the three amigos, which are three gray aliens that travel in a vortex of energy and will visit the initiate. If summoned, they will come. I love y'all, good looking sexy people. Please check me out on www.buymeacoffee.com. Leave a thumbs up on the video, come back later and leave a comment. Tell me what you think of that story. Tell me about if you've ever seen Mothman. It's one of the most experienced cryptids in the cosmos. I will see you on the next transmission, y'all, as we wander into the abodes of the future. Keep doing good magic. Until next time, ad astra per aspera.